Hello and welcome to another stoichiometry video. Today we're going to be looking at limiting reagents and how to calculate mass in a balanced equation. Now, if we look at this equation, these coefficients are very important in showing us the ratio of the different compounds we need. So looking at these numbers, we can tell that for every 2 moles of NaOH, we need 1 mole of copper sulfate. So remember that mole is a number, is a quantity of particles. Now, sometimes you do not have enough amount of a particular chemical, and that is called the limiting reagent. So let's give an easy example to begin with. Let's say you're given 1.5 moles of NaOH and 1 mole of copper sulfate. At first glance, it might seem that you have more of NaOH, so the limiting reagent must be copper sulfate. However, this is not the case, because for every copper sulfate, you actually need 2 NaOH, 2 moles of NaOH, and you only have 1.5. That means during the reaction, you're going to run out of NaOH, so there's going to be some copper sulfate that has nothing to react with. Now, let's use the numbers in the actual question here to calculate how much copper hydroxide we make. So we're going to need to use the equation moles is concentration times volume, using these two numbers to find the moles of NaOH. Multiplying these two numbers, 3.5 and 0.025, we get the value 0.00875 moles. So concentration times volume. Note that the volume is in decimeters cubed. Often it's given in centimeters cubed, and you must convert it by dividing by 1,000 to decimeters cubed. Now let's do the same thing for copper sulfate. We use this equation, remember, when we are dealing with solutions, so a chemical dissolved in water usually. And let's do the same thing. I'm not putting the units here just to save some time, but that is good practice too. Okay, we get this number here, 5625 moles. Now again, at first glance, it seems that I have less copper sulfate than sodium hydroxide. However, again, this is where we need to think about the ratio. Let's put those numbers, although a bit small, up here. So that means, through my calculations, that I have 0.05625 moles of copper sulfate that I'm actually reacting, and then 0.00875 moles of NaOH. Now again, we need to go back to the ratio. You see, for every copper sulfate, you need 2 sodium hydroxides. And let's see if we have enough sodium hydroxide, actually. Now the trick you can do is just multiply by 2 and see if you have enough. That number gives me 0.01125 moles. This is actually how much sodium hydroxide you would actually need to react all of the copper sulfate. And as you can see, we have less. We have 0.00875. So the limiting reagent in this reaction is sodium hydroxide. Okay, so this is the limiting reagent. Connect to the second part of this video to see how we move on to the next step.